my seat and my back rumbling. I was sitting on a bench inside and it started shaking.
A business owner in Windsor describing the moment. A magnitude 3.6 earthquake hit tonight. They're not the only ones who felt it. People across southeast Michigan also shaken up by this tremor.
The earthquake happened around 8 o'clock tonight. It was centered near Amherstburg, Canada, just south of Windsor, and was felt across the Detroit River and beyond, I would say.
Yeah, we have team coverage tonight. Action News reporters Alan Campbell and Brian Abel are in Grosse Ile and Southgate, where many felt the tremor. We'll get to them in just a minute.
Yeah, but first we're going to go to Chief Meteorologist Dave Rexroth, and you're here with the science behind all of this and what prompted it.
Yeah, well, we got faults all over the place. Now, in Michigan, we don't have a major fault. The most recent, or the nearest major fault, is called the Madrid Fault, coming out of Missouri into eastern Illinois, not quite this far north. But there are lots of shallower little faults because of the fact of what we're built out of. Here in Michigan, we used to be ocean. We're built out of the different kind of rocks, so there are little breaks and fissures, not real major faults. This is the first map that came out 1 minute after 8 o'clock. All right, the epicenter is about 4 miles east of Amherstburg, Ontario, just across the river from Boblo Island, really. You can see it, and you can see the fort over there when you look across the river. So just very, very near to us, 5 kilometers deep. Again, the magnitude 3.6. There have been 10 earthquakes in the last 6 years in our area. Some of them you haven't felt. They usually have to be about 2.5 for magnitude or higher to feel. This one, again, 3.6. That puts it in the minor category. Now, the blue pixels on here say, yep, it was felt. There was no damage. All right, so we haven't heard any reports of damage. We're going to check in locally to see if that was going on just a little bit. Here is the most recent, or the nearest area of the strongest feel, if you will. Detroit, downriver, over to Amherstburg into Ontario as well. But the magnitude reached all the way up toward Port Huron, all the way down to Sandusky and out toward areas like Milford, too. So far-reaching, absolutely, but not a whole lot of problems. Amherstburg just 5 years ago had a 2.5 one. That one wasn't felt too much. All right, Alan Campbell is out now in E-Course talking to people. What they see, what they hear, what they feel.
Well, Dave, a lot of people out here on Grosse Ile say, yeah, they felt that earthquake, that 3.6. And if you've ever been on Grosse Ile, you know what separates us to Canada. That is the Detroit River. And of course, this earthquake will be reported the epicenter in Amherstburg. The USGS saying that was a 3.6. But you know, when you cross the toll bridge coming across here to Grosse Ile, well, we asked some of those people there, the toll booth workers, if they felt anything. One guy telling me he heard 3 loud booms. It sounded like a loud thunderstorm. He looked outside, then his booth started shaking. Even those gates started shaking as well. We stopped in here at Lloyd's Bar and Grill, asked some of the patrons inside what they saw, what they felt, what they heard. Take a listen to what they told me.
We've never really experienced anything like that here. We've certainly had some really bad weather with flooding and everything, and so I wondered if that was related, but it was, yeah, it was very alarming.
I remember I thought someone hit my building, and my building's been hit before, so, but then it lasted longer than an initial impact would normally last. So everybody went outside to see what was going on, and then it stopped by then. And like I said, it didn't last as long as the one in the 80s, but it lasted long enough to gather everybody's attention.
And just a few moments ago, I spoke with a lady who was going inside Lloyd's Bar and Grill. She tells me she was at a play just down the street when all of a sudden everything started shaking inside the auditorium, but they did say that the play went on. Right now, the good news is no reports of any injuries or deaths. We're going to check in right now with Brian Abel. He is live in Southgate. And Brian, I hear that some people say they thought a crash had occurred there.
Yeah, that's correct, Alan. We're about, if that epicenter, as Dave mentioned, was 4 miles east of Amherstburg, we're about 13 miles away from that epicenter. But the people here in Southgate, they thought that whatever was happening right underneath them.
The whole house shook. I thought something was coming in the house. That's how loud it was.
The thunderous underground roar of tectonic plates shifting forced people in many neighborhoods out into the streets, including Lisa Lockhart's in Southgate.
Everybody was out on their porch, on their phones, looking at each other. It's like, what was that? Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
The 3.6 magnitude quake's epicenter just across the river in Amherstburg, Canada.
It was a big rumble that came like underneath the ground almost. My neighbor across the street said she thought her hot water tank actually exploded.
Sharon Holavichak describes being in a 10-story senior living building when it hit, and the following aftershock.
I thought it was a plane crash because I heard the plane crash years ago in Detroit at the bridge.
Wow.
So I thought that's what it was. It was like a slow rumbling, real low. Like as if you took your hands over a washboard.
She was mentioning the aftershock there. Of course, this was felt across the metro in many areas. Many people, when I was on Facebook Live earlier, saying that they thought that a plane was landing on top of their building. Others thinking that there was a train derailment. But as of right now, we are hearing of no injuries reported from this. Reporting live in Southgate, Brian Abel, 7 Action News.
All right, Brian, thank you. And we do have continuing coverage of the earthquake on air and on our website, WXYZ.com. You can also post any photos or share any stories with us that you may have on our Facebook page. And coming up at 11, we're going to talk to an expert from Wayne State live by phone. So be sure to tune in for that on 7 Action News at 11, and that's over on Channel 7.